The quiet before goodbye. Wang Yibo had always thought love was supposed to save people. That when you find someone who sees you, truly sees you, you hold on to them, and no matter how fierce the storms are, you weather them together. He believed that, until Xiao Zhan shattered every bit of that faith. The lights were soft in their Beijing apartment. Rain tapped gently on the windows. Yibo, still in his motorcycle jacket, stood by the counter watching Xiao Zhan prepare tea, sleeves rolled up, eyes crinkling as he smiled. "You trust me, right?" Xiao Zhan asked suddenly, handing him the warm cup. Yibo took it with a nod. "Of course I do." Xiao Zhan reached out, brushing a strand of hair from Yibo's forehead. "No matter what happens, you'll believe me?" There was something in his voice, fragile, almost trembling. "I will," Yibo said without hesitation. "Always." He didn't realize then that always had a deadline. The calls began coming late at night. Random numbers. Sometimes international. Xiao Zhan would excuse himself, go to the balcony, whisper urgently into the dark. Yibo noticed. He wasn't stupid. "What's going on?" he asked one night. "Work stuff," Xiao Zhan replied too quickly. "A brand deal in Thailand. Complicated logistics." But Yibo heard the hesitation in his voice. And worse, he saw guilt in his eyes. Something Xiao Zhan never used to have. Still, he said nothing. He wanted to believe. He needed to, because love is blind. But heartbreak sees everything in hindsight. It happened on a clear August morning. The sky too blue, the air too still, like the world was holding its breath. Yibo was rehearsing for a performance when his phone started buzzing nonstop. He ignored it until his manager stormed in, pale-faced, breathless. "They've arrested him," she said. He blinked. "Who?" "Xiao Zhan. The police raided a warehouse. Illegal transactions, stolen art, money laundering. They think he's part of it. It's everywhere, Ba." The words didn't register at first. Arrested? Xiao Zhan? His Xiao Zhan? Top actor Xiao Zhan arrested in international crime syndicate crackdown. Beloved idol or criminal mastermind? Wang Yibo remained silent amid scandal. Yibo stood in front of the television, shaking. The footage played on loop, Xiao Zhan in handcuffs, head down, expression unreadable. Reporters screamed his name. He didn't flinch. Yibo's knees buckled. He spent the night curled up on their bed, surrounded by the scent of Xiao Zhan's cologne, holding onto a pillow like it would bring him back, or better, bring the truth. 2 weeks later, Yibo was granted a private visit. Xiao Zhan sat behind the glass, in the orange prison uniform that looked wrong on his graceful frame. His eyes, those eyes that once held galaxies, were dim. "I didn't want this," Xiao Zhan whispered. "Not for you." "Why?" Yibo rasped. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I thought I could fix it before it got bad. I was in too deep. It started small, just helping a friend cover a debt. Then it spiraled. I didn't know how to stop." "You lied to me." "I didn't lie about loving you." Yibo laughed bitterly, tears finally spilling. "No? Then what was it every night you left me in the dark, pretending everything was fine?" Xiao Zhan looked away. "I didn't want to drag you down with me. I'm already drowning." "But you dragged my heart. That enough for you?" Silence. Then Xiao Zhan's voice cracked. "I didn't think I was worth saving." Everywhere Yibo went, questions followed. Journalists, fans, even people he thought were friends. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. "Did you know?" And worse, "Do you still love him?" He refused to answer. Instead, he threw himself into work. Music, dance, acting, anything to numb the hollow ache inside. But nothing filled the void Xiao Zhan left behind. He would go to sleep with tears on his pillow, dreams haunted by laughter that once filled their home. He missed the sound of Xiao Zhan humming while cooking, the way he'd curl up like a cat on the couch with a book, the warmth of his hand intertwined with his own. Yibo started avoiding that apartment altogether, because the silence was louder than any betrayal. One day, a letter arrived. The handwriting was unmistakable. "Yibo, if you're reading this, you haven't burned everything we were. Thank you for that. I know you hate me. I hate myself more. But I need to say this. I never stopped loving you. Not for a second. What I did was wrong. I was desperate, scared, and stupid. But my love for you was the only thing that made me feel human in the middle of all the lies. I never meant to hurt you. I wanted to protect you, even if it meant breaking us. I think about you every day. Your smile, your stubborn silences, the way you light up when you ride. You made me believe I was more than my mistakes. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I hope someday you can remember me without pain. Love, always, John. E-Boss stared at the paper for hours, and then he cried harder than he ever had in his life. The world moved on. Scandals faded. Other news replaced the headlines. But E-Boss never quite healed. He performed, smiled, signed autographs, but the spark in his eyes dimmed. Those closest to him saw it. He was still waiting for something, or someone. Xiao Zhan was sentenced to 5 years. He pleaded guilty, didn't fight it. He didn't ask for leniency. All he asked for was one thing. Don't let E-Boss be dragged into this. He's innocent. E-Boss never visited again. He couldn't bear it. He wanted to remember Xiao Zhan as the man he fell in love with, not the broken figure behind bars. On the anniversary of Xiao Zhan's arrest, E-Boss returned to the apartment. It had been untouched. Dusty, quiet, frozen in time. He walked through the room slowly, memories flickering like candlelight. Their photos still hung on the wall, one of them laughing in Paris, another from a snowy night in Seoul. In the closet, one of Xiao Zhan's hoodies remained. E-Boss slipped it on. And finally, he let himself break. He screamed into the silence, punched the wall until his knuckles bled, cried until his voice gave out. Then he took out a notebook and wrote one sentence. You were my always, but you chose goodbye. He left the note in Xiao Zhan's drawer, walked out, and closed the door behind him. In prison, Xiao Zhan keeps that letter from E-Boss close to his heart. He reads it every night, lips trembling. He knows what he lost. He knows he doesn't deserve a second chance. But love, even when broken, never disappears. It just lives in the spaces where forgiveness hasn't bloomed yet. And in another lifetime, maybe their story ends differently, where betrayal never happened, where always meant forever. But not this time. This time, love wasn't enough to save them. And Wang Yibo was left with nothing but memories and the silence that followed Xiao Zhan's goodbye. The hoodie still smelled like him. Wang Yibo sat cross-legged on her old living room floor, holding a fading photograph of them in Kyoto, Xiao Zhan laughing mid-sneeze, Yibo leaning on his shoulder. A blur of snowflakes clung to their hair, a memory too beautiful for the wreckage that followed. Yibo hadn't come back here for a year. The place had become a tomb, sealed shut not with nails, but with sorrow. But tonight, he needed to face it, because running from a ghost only makes it harder to bury. He remembered how Xiao Zhan used to sing to him in the kitchen, soft, humming Chinese ballads between stirs of hot soup, or how he dramatically draped himself across the couch when he was bored, demanding attention or death. E-Ball would always roll his eyes, but he'd end up kissing that stupid, smirking mouth anyway. Their love was loud in its laughter, quiet in its loyalty, until secrets seeped in. He remembered the first true moment of suspicion. One night, Jean came home late, drenched in sweat, adrenaline pulsing beneath his skin. Got caught in the rain, he lied. But it hadn't rained in Beijing that day. And E-Ball, blinded by love, chose not to question it. Sifting through drawers, E-Ball found something buried beneath old scripts, a hidden envelope addressed to him. It was sealed, unopened. Forgotten? He hesitated, hands shaking, before tearing it open. E-Ball, if I disappear one day, it's not because I stopped loving you. It's because the things I've done, they'll catch up to me. I didn't mean to get involved, but I owe people things, money, favors, silence. I try to pay them off quietly, but I can't control the wave anymore. I want to come clean, but I'm scared, not of jail, of losing you. But if this letter reaches you, I've already lost. Love, John. E-Ball closed his eyes, throat tight. He wanted to scream again, but instead, he laughed bitterly. So, you were trying to leave me, even before the handcuffs. The betrayal cut deeper now. Not just because Xiao Zhan had broken the law, not because he lied, but because he decided alone that Yibo couldn't handle the truth, that he wasn't worth trusting with the worst of it. The media had stopped buzzing about the case months ago. Xiao Zhan had cooperated, testified, helped the authorities unravel a black market network tied to stolen artwork, laundering money through production companies. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't cinematic. It was sad, human, stupid. Zhan wasn't the mastermind, but he was complicit. All he had to do was say no to one deal, one lie, one helping hand to a so-called friend. But he didn't, and now he was paying the price. So was Yibo. The visit he swore he wouldn't make. 2 days later, against his better judgment, Wang Yibo signed in at the detention facility. The guard eyed him with surprise. "You sure? It's been over a year." Yibo nodded. "I'm sure." They led him through cold hallways until he saw him. Xiao Zhan, older, thinner, the vibrant charm worn down by time and confinement. Zhan blinked, stunned, then slowly stood. "I wasn't sure you'd ever come." Yibo sat down across the glass, jaw tight. "I shouldn't have, but I found your letter." Zhan looked away. "I wrote that the night I almost turned myself in. I kept thinking about how your eyes would look at me once you knew." "They looked like this," Yibo said, tired, shattered. They both sat in silence for a moment. Then Xiao Zhan whispered, "I lost you, didn't I?" Yibo didn't answer immediately. "I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out if I miss you, or if I just missed a lie I believed in." That made Zhan flinch. It wasn't all a lie. "No," Yibo admitted. "That's what hurts the most." Outside the facility, the storm that had been building inside finally cracked. Yibo collapsed onto the sidewalk, hood up, head in his hands. The world blurred around him. A fan walked by, recognized him, hesitated, then backed away, sensing something sacred and broken in his space. He sat there until sunrise. Winds rushed past, but he remained still. Maybe this was what grief looked like. Not death, but watching the person you love become someone else. Weeks later, he visited the mountains alone, where they'd once taken a trip to escape media noise. A lake reflected the sky like a mirror, calm and cruel. Yibo tossed a small paper boat into the water. Inside was a poem he once wrote for Zhan, but never gave him. "You were a storm I danced in, a fire I warmed my hands by. I didn't know loving you would leave ashes on my skin." The boat drifted until it disappeared from view, and Yibo finally felt lighter, not healed, but free. In his next performance, Yibo danced with a rawness that hadn't been seen before. Every move told a story of love found, broken, and left behind. The world applauded. But when the lights went down, he stood alone backstage, one hand in his pocket, curled around an old bracelet Xiao Zhan had given him, the only thing he never threw away. He smiled faintly, tears unshed. "You loved me wrong," he whispered to no one. "But damn it, you did love me. And maybe, just maybe, that would always be enough and never enough at the same time."